Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my March TBR. You'll probably know the drill by now, but today I'm going to be pulling prompts from my TBR jar to help me pick out the books I want to read for the upcoming month. March is one of my favorite months, mostly because it is my birthday month, but I also feel like it is the light at the end of the tunnel. We've started to have some warmer weather here, so I'm hoping that spring is on the horizon and we could say goodbye to winter very soon. I'm so over the cold. So with that, I am planning to pull 6 prompts today. I feel like 6 was my norm before, but for some reason I bumped it up to 8 prompts the past couple months. I'm not sure why, but 6 is a much more attainable number for me, especially this month. I always like to make my birthday treat to myself to just mood read. I don't really have any specific reading vlogs planned. Obviously I can read whatever I want whenever I want, but I love having a set TBR just to give myself a little bit of structure. But planning to pull 6 prompts. There is a lot on the card that I'm in the mood to read right now, so that's always good. I'm excited to plan out this month of reading with you guys. With that, let's jump right in. The TBR jar is looking a little low, but it's because I took out most of the prompts I've used before, so these should be all new prompts. And prompt number 1 is gonna be a book cover that features a landscape. Happy Ever After playlist, I feel like, yeah, I remember this kind of having like a nature scene on the front. It looks like they're at a dog park. I would say that counts as a landscape. I feel like that might be as close as we're gonna get to fitting that prompt, but I'm gonna keep looking. Finale by Stephanie Garber. I do really want to finish out this trilogy. I was thinking maybe it has like the Caraval picture scene on the front, but it doesn't. I want to finish that soon because my plan was to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy in the spring. For some reason that series gives me spring vibes, but I still need to finish out the Caraval trilogy at some point. How to End a Love Story kind of has a landscape. This takes place in LA and the cover is definitely giving LA because they're on like a movie set. I would maybe say that counts. It kind of has like the palm trees and stuff. I feel like you can definitely tell it takes place in California just by looking at the cover, so I'm gonna count that one too. House on the Cerulean Sea definitely has a landscape on it. I actually read part of this book a few years ago and I liked it, but I just put it down and never picked it back up, and I've just never really been in the mood to read it since then. But I hear the most wonderful things about it, so I do need to give it a try again at some point, and it would work for the prompt. Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid also has the palm trees. Again, I feel like you can tell this takes place in California, so I don't know. It's not like super landscapey, but I would say that it counts. Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark. I still need to read. I know it's been on so many TBRs, but I would say this kind of counts as a landscape. We have some options, so I think I'm gonna stop here. I really think that's all that I have to choose from anyway, but Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark. Was thinking this would be a great one to pick up and read for my birthday month, although I'm sad to finish out Magnolia and BJ's story. Like I always say when I talk about this book, I love this series so much. I feel like this is definitely going to be a 5-star read for me, so would love to have a 5-star during my birthday month. Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like I'm more excited about Magnolia Parks, and I feel like this is not giving landscape as much as the Magnolia Parks cover, so I'm gonna put this one back just for now. The House on the Cerulean Sea probably fits the prompts the best, but I don't know, I'm just never in the mood for this book, but I'm like, I need to read it at some point. It's been on the TBR for so long, and I hear the best things, and I know I would like it because I was liking it up to the point where I stopped reading it. But since it's my birthday month, I only want to read what I'm really in the mood for. Maybe I'll change my mind as the month goes on, but right now I'm just not really feeling it. Happy Ever After playlist and How to End a Love Story are also 2 really good options. Obviously this one's by Abby Jimenez, one of my favorite authors. I've also heard the best things about this book in particular. It's the 2nd book in her Backlist series, and I think this is the fan favorite of that series, and I really loved the 1st book, so I'm like, if I loved that one as much as I did and this one is the fan favorite, I'm hoping to love it even more. Also thinking about her most recent series, Yours Truly was the 2nd book in that series, and it was my favorite and a 5-star, and I feel like that is also the fan favorite of that series, so maybe her 2nd books are the fan favorites and there's kind of like a trend there. Good option for sure. And then How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. Yulin Kwong is the screenwriter for Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation adaptation, so that's what made me want to pick this one up. I feel like I would be in the mood for both of these, but maybe leaning a little more towards the Abby Jimenez book just because she has another book coming out in April, and I feel like I'm not going to want to pick that one up in April and have like 2 Abby Jimenez books in the same month, but reading it the month prior to her new release might get me excited for it. They both are going to be more emotional romances. I feel like this one will be a little bit more of a fun time than Magnolia Parks, but I would be happy reading both of these in the month, so I feel like whichever one I don't pick, there's a good chance I'll end up picking again for another prompt. I don't know why, but I'm kind of drawn more towards the Happy Ever After playlist. I think just because I hear the best things about this book in the series, and it's One of Us is Famous trope. It sounds super fun. I think that our female main character Sloane is driving. She finds a dog on the side of the road one day and ends up finding the owner, and then they have a romance. And Sloane was also in the previous book, and based on what happened with her in that book, I'm so curious to see how things are going to continue on in this book. I feel like I'm just drawn to this one more, so I'm going to pick this one as my first read of the month. Okay, prompt number 2. A book that's been on 3 or more TBRs. This shouldn't be too difficult. I definitely could go back to Magnolia Parks for this one. This has been on countless TBRs. Y'all are probably so sick of seeing it. Could also do Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. This is book 4 in the Boys of Tommen series. This has for sure been on at least 3 TBRs. Another one y'all are probably sick of seeing. And I do really need to continue on with this series as well. I feel like this would be a good pick for March too, since it's Irish. I feel like that fits the St. Patty's Day vibe, so this could be a good pick. I think these 2 might be my best option because I'm definitely seeing some that have been on like maybe 2, at least 1 TBR, but I'm confident that these have been on probably the most, so I can't go wrong with either one really. Both are going to be emotional, impactful romances. Both series I love. Would like to read both in the month of March. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. Hopefully this will be the last you see of her on a monthly TBR. I really need to get it read, and with March being a month where I don't have really any other reading plans, I just want to stick to my TBR or mood read, I feel like it's a great chance that I will finally read this book in March, and I am in the mood for it. I do love this series so much. I love Jessa Hastings' writing, so I'm really excited about it, but like I keep saying, sad that Magnolia and BJ's story will be over, but I do need to finish it out. I do want to find out what happens before I get spoiled, which it's surprising that I haven't yet since this has been out for a bit now, but I'm gonna make this the second book I add to my March TBR. Okay, prompt number 3. A new to me author. See, we could do One Star Romance by Laura Hankin. Never even heard of this author before I picked up this book, but I saw it just kind of going around and it caught my eye, so I picked this one up sometime at the end of last year. Definitely could work for the prompt. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath could work because I've never read from her, and I'm very intrigued too. The little quotes I've seen from her I really connect with, so I feel like I'm going to really enjoy her writing style. But this one does intimidate me since it is a classic, so it's not like top of my list, but definitely an option. Love of My Afterlife is by Kirsty Greenwood, another author I hadn't heard of until this book. This one kind of gives me the same vibes as The Dead Romantics. It sounds like a magical realism, afterlife kind of romance. It sounds like a fun time, and it's blurbed by so many authors that I love. Josie Silver, Carly Fortune, Ashley Poston, Sophie Cousins. Definitely a good pick as well, but I'm going to flip the card around and see if there's anything else. We could go back to How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. She was definitely an author that is new to me and also intrigues me since she is writing the script for People We Meet on Vacation. I feel like that could work really well for this prompt, and it was one I was already trying to decide between earlier. Just flipping through and kind of reading a little bit to get a feel for the writing style, these 2 were the ones that I was drawn to the most. This one does sound like it's going to be really fun. The first few lines were really funny. This cannot be how I die. It really, really can't. Naturally, I know not everyone is blessed with the whole old lady from Titanic option, drifting off into a toasty sleep, memories of making love to a peak Leonardo DiCaprio there to soften the blow of perishing, but choking to death at the age of 27, Delphi, no. Like, that just sounds fun, and I feel like it's caught my attention from the jump. Yeah, I'm feeling this one. I'm gonna read a little bit more into this and see. This one is also starting out with death, but it's funny because this one has a more like lighthearted tone, and this one does sound more like sad and emotional. It's taking place at her sister's funeral, which it just has a more like melancholy, heavy vibe to it. So I kind of want to go with The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. I don't know if this is her debut, but I haven't heard of this author before this book, and it just caught my eye the first time I saw it, the first time I heard about it. It sounds fun. I think our main character, that says she's a recently deceased woman who meets the one in the afterlife waiting room, scoring a second chance at life and love if she can find him on Earth before 10 days are up. That just sounds like such a fun premise. I'm here for it. I'm gonna make this the next book I add to the TBR. Prompt number 4. A book with chapter titles. It's kind of a rare thing these days. I feel like back in the day, all books used to have chapters that were titled, and now you don't really see that anymore. And I love chapters that have titles on it so you kind of know what to expect. The Favorites by Lane Fargo was high on my radar last month, and I just did not have time to read it. It was going to be the next book I picked up, but I just didn't have enough time, enough days in the month. But these chapters are not titled, unfortunately. I don't think How to End a Love Story had titled chapters either. No. Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid doesn't even have chapter numbers. It just kind of breaks in the page. Tell Me Lies has been on my radar because I really want to watch the show. This one doesn't really have titles, just characters' names and a date, so I would say that probably doesn't count. Alone with You in the Ether has been on quite a few TBRs. This one may have worked for the prompt of being on 3 or more, but I don't think it's been on quite that many. It might have been on 2 previously. This one's short as well, but I don't see even a break in chapters. Well, this one is broken out into different parts, and the parts do have titles. Part 2, Conversation, Part 3, Keys, but they're not really chapter titles. This may have to count though if I can't find anything else. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter is one I didn't get to last month. I had 2 YA romances on my TBR in February. I read one and I loved it. Didn't get to this one though, but I'm very much in a YA romance mood with how much I loved the other one I read. I knew all these chapters started with like a quote from a rom-com movie, but it technically doesn't have a chapter title. I'm gonna flip this around and see. Finale by Stephanie Garber. We could go back to. Oh, this is just broken out by the sisters' names, but not chapter titles. You know what? The Boys of Tommen books might have chapter titles now that I think about it. It sure does. Yep. Okay, this could definitely work. I'm gonna see if there's anything else though. Deepened is Ali Hazelwood's latest release. I got this last month. Really want to read it soon, even though I've heard very mixed reviews on it, but it looks like it doesn't have chapter titles. Okay, so I think I know what I want to do. I think the one that fits the prompt best and the one I want to read the most is Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. This is book 4 in the Boys of Tommen series, and it is the last book following Joey and Eva. I personally did not love them as a couple quite as much as Johnny and Shannon. I still adore them, still rated their last book highly, but I just didn't love them as much as Johnny and Shannon. They just don't have that piece of my heart that they do. I feel like I didn't connect to their characters quite as much, but I still adore the series and I do need to continue on with it. So excited to add this one. I'm hoping that I get to it. I feel like the fact that it's Irish too will motivate me to read it around St. Patrick's Day time. Prompt number 5. A book from my 25 books I want to read in 2025 TBR. Okay, I'm going to pull up that list. I do have it here on my phone. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the books on my 2025 TBR that are also on the cart because there's not too many that are. The first one is Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. This is the start to a pretty long YA dystopian series. I don't think I want to get into all that right now. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, definitely one I was considering earlier. It does intimidate me a little bit though since it is a classic. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney is on the cart. Alone with You in the Ether we looked at earlier. The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt is also on the cart. The 7-Year Slip, Better Than the Movies, Lessons in Chemistry, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. So we do have quite a few options. I'm trying to think of those, which one I'm most in the mood for. Alone with You in the Ether I actually bought on my birthday. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I remember taking a trip to Barnes on my birthday and buying this book. So it would be kind of fitting to read this one. I've heard it compared to Normal People in that it's like a right person, wrong time kind of romance. That does intrigue me. The 7-Year Slip, I don't know why, I'm just like not in the mood for that right now. I'm definitely gonna read it at some point. I'm sure I'm gonna absolutely love it, but I just want to give it its moment, its fair shot when I'm really feeling it because I know I'll love it when I'm in the mood for it. Lessons in Chemistry, I don't think I'm feeling a historical fiction right now. Better Than the Movies was one I was feeling earlier. We'll add that as an option. And then The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath was another option. Beautiful World, Where Are You is my last Sally Rooney book I have to read. She is my favorite author, and I definitely would like to read this soon. I feel like this could be like a little birthday gift to myself because I just adore her writing so much. I really cannot decide between these four. I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier and just flip through and see which writing style stands out to me the most, which one I'm clicking with. You know what? I think I might have a winner already. A woman sat in a hotel bar watching the door. Her appearance was neat and tidy, white blouse, fair hair tucked behind her ears. She glanced at the screen of her phone on which was displayed a messaging interface and then looked back at the door again. It was late March. It takes place in March. I feel like that's perfect. That's all I needed to read. Maybe the whole thing doesn't take place in March, but it's also another Irish book, so that's perfect for St. Paddy's Day. Didn't even think about that, but very fitting. I love Sally Rooney. She's my favorite author. I've been saving this one. If you've been here, you know I'm just holding out because I love her and I love always knowing I have something left by her to read. I do want to read it at some point. It was on my TBR for the year, so I was planning to read it before the year is over anyway. I feel like March would be a great time to do it. Okay, and my final prompt is a book that's been adapted. The Goldfinch was adapted. Tell Me Lies has been adapted. The Storied Life of AJ Fikry has been adapted. I think this just recently became a movie too. I saw it on like the Netflix new category. The only other thing I can think of is Lessons in Chemistry, which still just not really feeling that one for some reason. I think there's like a few others, but between these three, I feel I'm most in the mood for The Storied Life of AJ Fikry, which was on last month's TBR and I just didn't have time to read it, and Tell Me Lies. I really wanted to watch this show soon. I feel like both would be good options. The Storied Life of AJ Fikry is shorter and it just feels like a very cozy, heartwarming type of story. Tell Me Lies is very much opposite of that. It sounds like toxic drama, but we love balance. We love having both on our TBR. I think I do want to go with The Storied Life of AJ Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. I love Gabrielle Zevin's writing and I would love to read more from her. She's the author of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is one of my favorite books, one of my 5-star reads, and I haven't read anything else from her since that book, but this one, like I said, just sounds so cozy and heartwarming. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more emotional based on some of the things I've heard it's about. All I really know though, it's about our main character who is a little bit grumpy and he owns a bookstore, so that just sounds like such a sweet story. And I know Lucy Hale is in the film adaptation, so I would love to watch that after reading this. So the 6 books on my March TBR are The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin, Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney, Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh, The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood, Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark by Jessa Hastings, and the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. So I'm excited for this TBR. I feel like it's a good one. I'm hoping that it's going to be a great month in general, a great reading month. Let me know, as always, down below what you are reading in March, if you read any of the books on my TBR, what your thoughts are on them, what you think I should pick up first. Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you're still loving the TBR jar, helping me pick out my reads. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on my thoughts on these books as I read them, as well as upcoming book content. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you so soon in my next one. Bye guys.